Hey guys, welcome back to another K Wednesday. My name is Sam. Somewhere around here is Morgan. I've given up on trying to figure out
I'm
where
God.
she is.
No, just kidding. I'm here.
And today we are going to. I didn't find any K drama news as of the time of this recording, so June 8th, or not June, it's July. It's July. What is this? So as of July 8th, I didn't find any news that I felt like needed to be talked about, but I did find something very interesting. And it is an article on what it's like being mixed race in Korea.
Oh, okay.
And it's basically an article that says with more and more interracial romances and marriages occurring everywhere, it makes sense that there's a rise in the number of mixed race children coming into the world. But despite it becoming a lot more common than in the past, some countries are still adjusting to this phenomenon, while others are more used to it than others. So what is it like to be mixed race in Korea? And they actually have a video on this, and I'm gonna have Morgan link it to you in the description below.
hmm
It's a it's not an interesting video, but I found it entertaining. It's a lot of people like they had their Korean French, Korean Taiwanese, Korean
hmm
Japanese, Korean American, and they kind of like talk back and forth a little bit in Korean and then in their native language,
hmm
and then they also talk about like one person talked about what it's actually like to be mixed race and how they aren't really deemed full Korean, but like
Yeah.
if they went back to their country in France, like they could be considered French and it doesn't really matter, regardless of like what your race is. So that was
hmm
a really interesting piece. But it says even the Korean media has claimed that racism in Korea is a widespread social problem. And unfortunately, like so many other countries around the world, the prejudice is directed more at those who are seen as inferior, the immigrant laborers from other Asian countries and Africa, that than it is at those from Europe or North America who are just visiting or living in Korea. But slowly things are getting better. In 2004, for example, legislation was enacted to improve the lives of immigrant families, and in 2011, a ban that restricted mixed race Koreans from enlisting in the military was uplifted. The world is more connected than ever before, and people from everywhere are falling in love with each other and having kids. Um, so I had seen this article and that wasn't really enough for me, so I decided to like delve into a little bit of
hmm
um, just to see if I could find another article that kind of talked about this, but like in a different light. And I actually
hmm
found it's a New York Times article from 2009 about it says on the evening of July 10th, I am going to horribly, horribly mess this name up, but Bonnegat Hussein, a 29-year-old Indian man, and Han Ji-son, a female Korean, were riding a bus near Seoul when a man in the back began hurling racial and sexist slurs at them. It says this situation would be familiar to a familiar one to many Korean women who have dated or even, as in Miss Han's case, simply traveled with the company of a foreign man. What was different this time, however, was that once it was reported in the South Korea media, prosecutors sprang into action, charging the man that they had identified as 31-year-old Mr. Park with contempt. For the first time, such charges had been applied on an alleged racist offense.
That's kind of sad. That's
2009.
really sad. That's
That
really
was
sad.
crazy for me. And then there's another thing on this article, if I can find it. Um, so they end up getting a quote from Han, who says, even a friend of mine confided to me that when he sees a Korean woman walking with a foreign man, he feels as if his own mother has betrayed him.
See, I already knew about this kind of situation just from like watching a lot of videos because I know, and the weird thing is I feel like there's a double standards. Although I'm obviously not Korean, I'm obviously not from Korea, so I don't know if this is necessarily true. But this is what I've gotten from videos and what I've gotten from reading articles. There is a double standard between boys and girls. If a Korean girl has a husband who is foreigner, then once again it's kind of wrong. But if a Korean man has a foreigner girlfriend, then they're like, oh yeah, buddy, you get it. Because it's kind of like foreign, like they're in their view, foreign girls are viewed as easy. And I knew that being mixed race because um, like I knew that was a big issue in Korea because I like this girl named Michelle Lee. or yeah, I think Michelle Lee. She came out with a song called "Without You," and in it, she is really interesting. Sam, you should watch it. It's so good. She's uh half black, and then she's also half Korean, and she came out with a song called "Without You," and in the song is basically about her, all the things people have said to her about being mixed race and all the hate, and
Hmm.
it's really sad. People get bullied for the way they look. Um, Obviously, I know how that feels, and I think it's sad that people who are mixed race aren't viewed the same way. And
Hmm.
in a way, I am mixed race too. My dad's white, my mom's Mexican. And but the thing is that like a lot of people when they look at me, they just kind of see my dark skin tone, and they a lot of times they ask me what I am, which I don't mind answering. But I've never felt any different. Like we didn't. I mean, we grew up in our school is very white, but we
Hmm.
didn't grow. I didn't grow up thinking like I'm mixed race. It's kind of sad that kids who are half can't be like, oh, I'm half Korean. This is my heritage. People are like, no.
Right. What I find interesting about this is that like our shock and like awe of um, basically them not accepting interracial marriage and interracial couples and everything
But
like
that was
that.
us a couple years ago. Or
This is, and I had said to Morgan that I was going to give her a little bit of American history, and she's like, "How am I going to have American
yeah,
history in Korean stuff?" So, actually, interestingly enough, interracial marriage in the United States has been fully legal in the U.S. since 1967.
I actually knew that because there was a movie came out that was something about Lovin', and it was
Hmm.
the first ever couple that got married, and it was actually, I'll be honest with you, it was kind of a boring movie, but it was a very interesting history lesson to learn
Right.
about how far people have came. Sorry, I can't speak.
Yeah. Well,
Came.
what's interesting about the year 1967 is that's the year my mom was born.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was 7 years old at that point. So it feels like these laws and this mentality has been around forever because it was there when we were born. But the world is still shifting a lot more of kind of accepting
Mm-hmm.
interracial lifestyles, especially with how small the world has become
Yeah.
with the internet and everything. So, I mean, I'm really liking the fact that like Korea is kind of leaning toward and accepting interracial couples
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more, and in that fact, interracial children. My cousin, who is Korean American, um, when she was in China, I believe she speaks Mandarin. I'm not 100%. It's either Mandarin or Cantonese. Not 100%. But even in China, like because she's white and Asian, and she's not a full-blooded Asian, and the walls are super thin in China. I know I was in China. They're super thin. You can hear everything. Um, her host family was talking crap about her the entire time. The entire time she was there, she ended up calling my uncle crying and saying that she needed to move out, and he ended up paying for the rest of the time that she was over there. But it's like that wasn't
And
that long ago. That was only
yeah.
a few years ago, and like that's just crazy to me because it's like when I was there, they were almost fascinated by. Oh, actually, they were more fascinated by a girl that I went with. She had blonde hair, blue eyes, fair skin, and they were very fascinated by her. But she had an Asian child, and they were half American, half whatever, insert Asian culture here. Then the child would be ridiculed because they're half and
Yeah.
half, and that's
I'll be honest with you
like that's
guys. Half
kind of
like mixed Korean babies are flipping gorgeous. Like look at Somi, look at Vernon, and like seriously, like half Korean kids or adults or whatever are flipping handsome. Like
yeah, they tend to get all the best genetics.
yeah, they have the best genes. So I mean, I'm just saying. Another thing though, I would say, I mean, it's not our culture. One part of me wants to say it's not our culture to judge. Like, although I can be, I can feel bad about it. It's it's you know, it's their culture kind of thing. Like, if that
Yeah,
makes
it's a very
sense.
their culture is very homogenous. It's very like when you come to the US, a lot of times they'll ask you, "Where's your family from?" And then I'd be like, "Well, I'm Irish and German." Well, that means nothing because I don't speak Gaelic and I don't speak German.
Yeah.
So who cares? Um, but like we're very, very like kind of mixed and meshed, and there's no such thing
Yeah.
as like not say no such thing, but there are very few pure-blooded I'm from this country people anymore. So it's kind of a norm for us.
Yeah.
So I'm just like the reason why this article kind of was nice to read a little bit was that it's nice to hear that the rest of the world is kind of like coming to a point of like we're all
Acceptance.
mixing together slowly, and I mean eventually nobody's going to be one thing. It's going to be
Exactly.
a mixture of multiple things.
Exactly.
So it's nice to kind of see it, but and it was also nice to read the 2009 article that they were starting to charge people for racial slurs because regardless of you wanting to stay homogenous or not, it's not right
Eh,
to criticize people for their personal
And it's,
choices.
yeah, it's none of your business really. It's that person. I mean, my thing is, don't judge a person by their skin color. Just judge them for who they are as a
Mhm.
person. If this person's shitty, then they're shitty. But if this person's a good person, then they're a good person. Don't judge them for their skin color or anything like that. Because, stereotypes are not really right.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think I'm glad that they're changing though. And although, it's not our culture, we can say that we're proud of their,
As a
improvements.
human race, I
Yeah,
think we
yeah,
could say we're proud
yeah.
that, I mean, the world is getting smaller and smaller. By this little device, I can talk to anybody in the world. So,
Um, but real quick question for you, Sam. What would you
so
do if you were in Korea, I wasn't there, let's just say you, and you were with a Korean friend. I'm not saying not saying boyfriend or anything like that because you're married, but and you heard someone saying racist slurs to you about being with a Korean guy. Or maybe how about this? You went to dinner with a Korean friend who is a guy, and the woman serving the food talks to the guy in Korean and starts saying like, "How can you be with this white woman?" What would you say?
I don't know. It would be kind of a mixture of wanting to lose my cool and trying to keep it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like with all the places I've traveled, I've always looked at myself as I'm an ambassador of my country.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, like, just because someone has an opinion about me, I'm in their field, their ball field. And so I need to play by their rules a little bit. And so it's kind of like, do I stand up for myself and say, look, asshole. Who cares? And then at the same time, it's like, do I just kind of just stay there and not say anything and kind of act like I don't understand what's going on
Mm-hmm.
and try not to be the angry American who freaks out? So it's kind of, those are one of the situations that you're like, you have to be in the moment to figure out what you're going to do. I wouldn't be able to answer that 100% as to how I would actually react.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But for me, I think I wouldn't react. I'm not, you know me, Sam. I don't confront people. I'm a Hufflepuff, so I'd be like, I'm sorry. Do you need help? Can I help you? Like, do you want me to do dishes? I'll go do your dishes. Like,
I'm trying to be a nice person, I
like
swear.
that's my motto. It's just live life and be nice to people and just don't be mean. And that's the life, like, that's the motto everyone should have. Just be nice to everyone. That's all. Just
Right?
be
Let's
nice.
just all be nice to each other.
Yes,
And like, you know what? We don't all have to be best friends, but let's just all get along.
exactly. I don't have
That's
anything else
it.
to add. Do you want to
That's
end it?
it. Um, if you have anything else you want to say, make sure you put in the
No.
comments below. Again, all opinions are our own and are based on our own life experiences. But if you have anything else you want to say, like we definitely like I love discussions and I love comments, so definitely comment if you want to see more, subscribe. And that's it. And we'll see you on Sunday.
Bye.